welcome back to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm Kay Williams, author of Op Deck Operation Deceit, the Trickier trilogy, and Blue Honor, as is the blog's name. Today I want to talk to you about organizing your research and what that entails. As you know, I come from a traditional background. I have a master's degree in film studies and screenwriting, and a large portion of that was honing my skills in research and stuff, especially historical research and understanding all the aspects of what that entails, how to vet your information, etc. So when organizing your research, the number one thing that you're going to need is to know your story. That's difficult for someone like me who is a pantser, not a plotzer. Much easier for somebody who plots everything out and has an outline, because they're going to know where the story is starting, where it's ending, and just things like that. And sometimes when you do it the way that I do it, when you're pantsing it, you don't get to plan your research quite so much, because you're writing along and then you go, wait, I'm not sure about that information and I need to look that up, so that kind of slows you down that way. You might make a note of it and just carry on regardless, and that's problematic, because if you're wrong, then you have to go back and fix everything, and it could really screw up where you were headed with your story. So I guess that's a good plug for plotting instead of pantsing, but I really love pantsing it, because I feel like the story is, not to turn a Hollywood phrase, it's more organic. It feels more natural and stuff. You kind of allow the characters and the setting and everything to arise as it needs, and I haven't found too much difficulty with that. Probably because I am such a history buff, and usually when I select a topic, it's something that I'm semi-familiar with. I might research a little bit ahead of time, which is something you can do if you know that you want to write something like, say, on the Revolutionary War. You can go and study a little bit of the Revolutionary War and kind of immerse yourself in that history for a little bit. And I'm also the type of person who advocates for over-researching, and you might not know what that means. It means exactly what I said. You research everything possible about a topic, and you might delve into other topics that you don't think are like necessarily connected, but they do have an intertext somehow, and those intertexts lead to happy little facts and side notes and stuff, and it might be something that you never find, otherwise if you didn't do that level of research. So it's just knowing your topic so well that you can literally just set the research books aside and write. And that's really cool. I always think that a story really forms itself best when you really know what you're talking about and dealing with and stuff as far as a topic. Now, that said, that might not be that easy, so what do you need to know that you don't know? So for a pantser, you're going to figure that out as you go along, because you're going to be writing, then you're going to come up to something like, say, an op deck. You get to the submarine, and you're like, how did they operate? What were they like inside? Were there restrictions? How was the pecking order inside handled? What did they have to do? What were the functions? Do I need to do any of this? So I would get my submarine books and stuff, the things on the German submarines specifically, and I would figure out, as I was writing, what I needed to know. Come up to the radio operator, the captain, how they operated. Usually they came up only at night, because they could be spotted otherwise, and they only came up on dark nights. So if they would follow the moon phases, and they would know if there was too much light at night, because the sheen of the moon could shine on that metal surface and a plane could hit them, if it was out there. And when you're at war, it's amazing. It is amazing. These pilots, their vision and their skill and ability and stuff, they could pick them out. They could pick them out from those heights. Those boats weren't small. They were pretty large. So, one, know your story. Ask, what do you need to know that you don't know? So if you've picked a topic that you're pretty familiar with, but there's some things that you think that you need a little brushing up on or filling in, you just, you write that down and you start making notes and stuff, and, go to the library. You can do Google Books. Will let you into some books. So before you go and you buy them or you pick them up at the library, you can look in there and see if it actually provides you information. That noise that you're hearing is Finnegan chewing on his bone, if you're wondering. Plug for Nylabone, right? Let's see. So period-specific facts, as small as materials used, as large as world events, laws, rulers, disasters, war. You have to look at where you're writing, who you're writing about, what the time period is. So again, Op Deck took place from May to June in 1942. So I needed to know what films were premiering at that time or playing, what the theaters were in Boston, what the moon phases were for those days, military operations, how the German Navy ran their subs. So a lot of that I didn't know because these are such specific details. You really don't get into that when you're doing a World War II history class. You're memorizing dates of when this battle happened or that was signed or someone said this. So you kind of miss these other bits of information. They're imperative to the narrative because it's those details that are just going to give it that authenticity that people are craving. They want to be immersed in 1942. Immerse them. So you kind of got to really think, down to, like, if Claire drank a tea, was that tea created by that time? Was it available at that time? You have to remember rationing and stuff. Some things were not available. The fancy restaurants that she goes to, and so, things were rationed, but you also have to realize she comes from money, so things are a little bit looser for them because they're able to sneak stuff in. That was pretty common. That's another fact that you would need to know. Okay, she's not from a middle class, poor, whatever family who doesn't have any means, to buy these things either on the black market or bribe an official, whatever, to get them. And they can afford to go to these upscale locations who probably greased the palms of some people and were able to get things. They did kind of manage back in those times. And again, people with money, they go around that whole rule thing. So you kind of have to know those things. So organizing your research is, again, knowing your story, asking yourself, what do you need to know that you don't know? So you might need to know a little bit of the plot and stuff with knowing your story. I'm sorry, pantsers. For the pantsers, you're just going to go along, and then when a question comes up, that's when you're going to research it. But you're going to have to stop long enough to get that research done. And sometimes that can cause a lag time when you're really I gotta write this. And it's like, if you don't have that fact, you can't go any further because it could really screw up your book. Or create a whole fiasco for you later with rewrites, etc. And think about the specific facts that you need if you're period writing, if you're topic writing, etc. So you'd be doing a police drama, so you would need to know a lot more about police operations, lingo, things that go on, because their language isn't the same language as us. For example, in police, they say things a lot differently. They have codes. They have a whole interior, language of their own. So if you're talking about certain businesses, certain cultures, and you can think of them that way, they're various cultures, and they will have their own codes of conduct and language, etc. So you need to know that. So just make yourself a note sheet, and just write at the top, what do I need to know that I don't know, and start asking your questions and stuff, and just, you can write one word, a cop for a character, I need to know cops, and so on, so forth. And just remember, cops in 1950 are not the same as today. They're not the same as 1850. So you have to know how those things evolved and have changed over time. And please, for the love of God, don't use slang that is current. Please research that, and don't just rely on the internet. We have old films, and those are very helpful to help you with the way that people talked back in the day. It's far back into 1920s. This is Tony Stark, the cat. And you just go from there. So good luck on that. If you have any questions, drop them below. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.